be able to transform the world. Because every other profession comes from teaching, but does not necessarily go with such a reward of such a transformation.
So,
For me, that's why I call it.
So our sister is saying teaching is a transforming activity. Do you agree with her? Yes. So there is that transformation that happens through teaching. What else makes us be in a profession that is noble? And she said it's a parent of all other professions. So that in itself gives it a very heavy weight. Yes? Selfless. That's a big word, isn't it? And I hope this is the word that we speak into our teachers whom we are representing. Selfless, the mother of all professions, transforming activity, transforming profession. Anything else before I give you a break? Before I give you a break, anything else that makes teaching a noble profession? I would like us as teachers to really move with a spring. If we can do all this to humanity, then we are not small people, we are not cheap. We are precious, we are great people, and nobody can make you great unless you make yourself great. So as we celebrate our day, I would like us to know that this is the greatest day in the world. If we can transform the whole of humanity into civilization through teaching, then what else can't we do? So I'm happy to be a teacher, and I'm hoping that you are. I keep meeting some of my friends who thought, we are running away from teaching, we want to go and do medicine and do whatever. Now they are in universities teaching. Those who went to do law are also in law schools teaching, because now the law schools are many. Everybody has come to teach. So I'm so glad to have them all teaching, and I'm going to put a very short course for them, so that they teach our people very well. Otherwise, we are happy to be here, and please feel at home, and we'll be glad even after here as we walk down to the cars to talk about how do we make our profession really noble. How do we make everybody look at us when we are coming through and say, this must be a teacher? How do we make our learning and teaching be in such a way that we feel proud that we are teachers? As we celebrate our day, and we have a great theme this year, I hope that we can continue reflecting on this and be the teachers that everybody would want to associate with. I thank you very much. I'll be coming back later.
With so much peace and joy, you're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Your love is kind, Jesus, yeah, and amen. You're not a man, you never lie. Jesus, you love me too much. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love. Jesus, you love me too much, oh. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Your love for me too much, oh. Too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Too much, oh, Jesus, you love me, oh, that you gave your life, oh. What manner of love is this? What manner of love is this that you give it up for me?
Amanya gange pitiwa na mulwatoria era nga nimo gwe nasoma nga gwe nasomye gwabadde gwanviri nga ngusomedde wandegeya namaze mwaka guwedde okusoma eby'enviiri naye nga mu kusoma eby'enviiri kyekyali ekiroto kyangu okuva emabega nga kyenkola ki kyenjagala naye ngaoyo edisikola ki nga siwiina ati we nasomye muzeeyi n'atugamba atugenda tuwa capital atuwe n'ebikozesebwa bambi nensanyuka nnyo olwokuba tugenda kukola ki tugenda kufuna ebyo ebintu byonna nensanyuka naye bambi kale nasanyuka nnyo okufuna ekiroto kyange nekikola ki ekituukirira kuba saasoma agenda kuba azira koma mu kyamukaaga saasoma nnyo okugenda wala kati nali mbeera muno mu Kampala muno mwasundi Kiwuli Mosque Zone mwe nali mbeera kati nali ndi awo oyo mukyala gwe bayita na Hajati n'asanga n'ayisaawo n'ekizindaalo n'atuyitamu ng'akola ki agambako ku bantu natugamba mujja mugende musome netugenda era twasomye netwagendanga era nga tulyayo emmere nga tebatuyisa bubika era twasoma era nze nayiga kuba naye sikola ki sibimanyi naye nayiga kuba kati nekakasa asobola okukola ki okukikolera asobola okwebeezaawo nefuna 5 nefuna omutwalo okusobola okumbeezaawo nga nze n'abaana bange okusoma okwo kwenyumirizaamu wenasoma nemaliriza sente bazituwadde naye ebintu ebikozesebwa ebisitaba kufuna naye sente zo twafunye kakadde ka sente omulanga gwenkubiriza ku bawala abali awalala abawala abali awalala wona mu district zonna zonna ne Kampala byonna ne waffe gye nava ebutaleja banguwe bajje ogula guki agenda mu maaso okusoma si kwa sente buli omu akole ki ajje twenyigire mu kusoma buli omu asoma abeeko nekyebeezako kuba guno mulembe gwa kukola tetali musajja ayagala omukazi atuula waka
twamala emyezi 5 nga tusoma ne tutikkirwa ne batuwa ne certificate zaffe kale nali nayagalako enviiri kuba nasomako nenkoma wenkoma mu senior 3 kale nesobola kweyongerayo nembeerawo nga nnoonya kiki kyensobola okusoma oba kyalana oba ki naye kino ekyagwawo ekyenviiri neŋŋamba nfunye chansi kaŋŋende njiga enviiri kasasi za kusasulira era naye ndaba nga kimpisiza bulungi nnyo ne bazadde bange ne kibayisa bulungi kuba baali si basanyufu okuba nga ntudde awo kale ne kimbeerera kyangu nnyo era nga tekirina buzibu tekikosezza. Ndi musanyufu nnyo olw'okusoma kuno kubanga mu butuufu nagezaako okulamuzaako mu saaluuni nga njagala njiga enviiri at least wenaafunangayo ekitundutundu nsasule ne baŋŋamba ssente nnyingi mitwalo 8 ze sirina ne muzeeyi wange zatalina kati kino ekyagwawo nga kyabwerere nga muzeeyi waffe yakitaddewo ne ŋŋamba ate wano nkubye ebinyonyi 2 ng'ate kozeseza jjinja limu ne mpulira essanyu ery'amaanyi era kyensinga okwenyumirizamu ne mba ntambudde ne ntuuka.
Can I request Professor Uga to come and lead us in the opening prayer?
Let's humble ourselves in prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to commemorate the World Teachers' Day 2020 and to reflect on the key roles of the teacher in our personal lives and development and in the life and economic development of our country. We thank you for our teachers. We thank you for the leadership of the Ministry of Education and Sports. And we thank you for His Excellency the President, our chief guest today. Please come and preside over this important occasion. Inspire us to find creative ways of equipping our teachers to design and deliver quality education programs that will lead to sustainable national growth to the glory of your name. Amen.
You can now take your seats. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Mama, the First Lady, and the Minister of Education and Sports, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Belgium and the Chair of Education Development Partners, the Honorable Ministers, the Honorable Members of Parliament. In particular, I want to welcome the Workers' Member of Parliament, the Education Development Partners represented here, the Chairperson of Education Service Commission, Professor Sam Luboga, who has just led us in prayer, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Executive Director, KCCA, the Secretary General, Uganda National Commission for UNESCO, UNATCOM, the directors and commissioners in the Ministry of Education and Sports, the chairperson, the general secretary, and the members of UNATU, the general secretary of Uganda Liberal Teachers Union, the general secretary of Uganda Private Teachers Union, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I'm called Dr. Kedres Turyajenda. I'm the Director of Education Standards in the Ministry of Education and Sports, and I've been requested to coordinate this afternoon's program. Allow me, Your Excellency and Mama, our Minister, to welcome you most warmly to this very special day as we celebrate the International Teachers' Day. You are most welcome. Allow me to welcome all of us who are here. Your Excellency, we tried to keep the guidelines and we are within the numbers allowed to meet, and we are sitting at a distance that is allowed. So we are trying to demonstrate that as teachers we are role models, and so we have only an invitee list of 50 people. And Your Excellency, there are quite a diversity of representation of teachers. We'd like to thank you, Your Excellency, for coming to grace this occasion to officiate on this very special day, and to thank you for being a great teacher. From the time you got opportunity to teach us as Ugandans a few years ago, we have always seen you teaching. And so we thank you for being a natural teacher. Many times you even come out and demonstrate for us on flip charts and so on, so we really feel like you are part of our comrade in arms. Thank you very much for being a great teacher. We also would like to appreciate Mama, our minister, who is an educationist, for her love for education, for her love for children, for her love for teachers, and she goes miles and miles to see how she can help us as teachers do our work professionally. So Mama, we are very proud of you, and we thank you very much for being with us today. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank UNATU, which has over the years organized the International Teachers' Day. Thank you for not tiring. Thank you for bringing us together to celebrate our great profession. And once again, I want to welcome all of you and thank you for coming, and to say that, Your Excellency, as we waited, these teachers told us that, that teaching is a noble profession. They believe it. And the reason why they believe it is that it is the foundation for civilization, that teaching is a change agent process, that it helps to transform even little children, even grown-ups, into useful people by helping them to acquire knowledge and competencies and values and attitudes that contribute to personal, community, and national development. So these teachers believe that, and that excited us as we waited for you. But Your Excellency, we also know that Jesus was called a great teacher, and so those of us who are teachers, we are very proud to be part of Jesus' profession. Once again, you are most welcome. Our program is not very long, but we hope that we can enjoy it together this afternoon. Allow me now, Your Excellency, to invite the chairperson of our education development partners to come and give his remarks.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, First Lady, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament, Secretary General of the Uganda National Teachers Union, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and my utmost pleasure to celebrate the World Teachers' Day with you today. In this scientific format, beautiful garden, at the State House, but also with all Ugandans watching, and listening. Let me first thank you for your kind invitation and the opportunity to address all of you today. If you see me in my current capacity as the Ambassador of Belgium and the representative of the Education Development Partners and the European Union, I'm also joining this celebration as a former teacher a long time ago, when I was still young and bright, and therefore particularly excited to give these opening remarks. 1 out of every 2 Ugandan citizens are 14 years young or younger. And if you add the teachers, the headmasters, the professors, the public servants in charge of education, a solid majority of the people of Uganda are directly concerned by schools and education. Your Excellency, I love it when you address the young people in this country as Bazukulu. It depicts a relationship of kin, of mutual respect. It tells the story of an emotional bond between generations, and you often express concern about the future of the current generation of young people in your country. As involved partners of Uganda in the education sector, we share this concern. This nation will need a gigantic education effort for a great number of years to come, and teachers play a central role in these efforts, and therefore teachers deserve our full support. We have continuously made a plea for the allocation of sufficient means to the schools of Uganda, especially in these difficult times of COVID-19. The option is not to do less. The only way to forward is to do more. Your Excellency, you have stressed manifold the need for alternative ways to teach. Via radio programs, television maybe, distance learning takes a different meaning today. With the rapid expansion of roads, the electrical grid, and the country's 4G networks, more people now have access and can be reached. Together with the Ministry of Education and its strongly motivated public servants, we are exploring new ways to bring education into the far corners of Uganda. With this motto, leave no child behind. Everyone has the right to access education. The right to education is a fundamental right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and one of the key principles underpinning the Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the international community. To ensure the continuity of learning in the past months, many teachers and schools came up with innovative solutions. There again, the role of the teachers has been predominant. I have personally witnessed how in the national teachers' colleges, new solutions are created using messaging, video, and social media to enable learning. The teachers use podcasts, e-books, and cloud services and other fancy tools from before my generation that nobody would have thought of a few months ago. Those words did not even exist in my teaching days. Making these tools more accessible is now a very useful strategy to reach more learners in these difficult times and beyond, and should be incentivized. This year's Teaching Day happens under the theme Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. COVID-19 already has caused a high price for the education community in Uganda. We see more family violence, including gender-based violence and juvenile forced marriages. Teenage pregnancies have increased manifold. When schools reopen, we fear to see many dropouts, and private school closures mean that many teachers need to find another occupation and income. This crisis also offers a unique opportunity of building back better the education system in Belgium, in Uganda, and everywhere else. And teachers are a cornerstone in these changes. We need their full commitment, their full support, and their experiences. That is why today I would like to pay tribute to all the teachers who have committed and continue to commit themselves in these challenging times and ensure them of our full support. Your Excellency, I think we can all agree that it is important to safeguard the progress made through universal primary education and universal secondary education, and to also create a capable and skilled pool of educated workforce to take Uganda to the next level of development. Hence, it is important to strengthen the status and accountability of the teaching force. We welcome the national teacher policy as its successful implementation can trigger a positive movement in the sector. The creation of UNITY, the Ugandan National Institute of Teacher Education, is a much welcome development, and we will work closely with it to contribute to modernizing the teacher profession. Your Excellency, Nelson Mandela is often quoted when people talk about education. My favorite quote from President Mandela is the following: "No country can really develop unless its citizens are educated." Please allow me a quote by another teacher, Mwalimu, by Julius Nyerere, also on education. "You cannot develop people. You must allow people to develop themselves." Your Excellency, I know that we agree on all this. As development partners, our modest role is to assist Uganda in its effort to teach and to allow Ugandans to learn so that they can develop themselves and build the future they aspire to. With strong conviction and with great pride, I truly believe that when we continue to join our efforts and collectively mobilize the many resources needed, we can make a difference. Let that be our promise to the teachers and learners of Uganda. I thank you for your attention and wish you all a happy World Teachers' Day and a safe return to school. Thank you.
Can we put our hands together again and appreciate those great words from our brother? Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Belgium, for your support and for these great words you shared with us this afternoon. Your Excellency, your teachers are going to speak to you, but before they speak, they are going to stand up and sing their solidarity song. If it wasn't for COVID, they would hold hands. But now that it's COVID, they will just demonstrate how they normally do it. So I'd like to request you that members of the teaching fraternity to stand up and sing your solidarity song. And then after that, we will request the Secretary for UNAT to come and share with us the words of this great theme in this year's celebrations. Okay. Oh, the teachers? You are celebrating together, yes. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity, we love the solidarity. Solidarity, we love the solidarity. Your help makes us strong. Forever. Now that they determine the nation, I would like to invite the representative from UNATU to share with us a message on this great day, the International Teachers' Day.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the First Lady and Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament present, our valued education development partners, senior government officials from line ministries, the trade union fraternity, the UNATU leadership and membership present, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Your Excellency, 5th October every year, teachers commemorate World Teachers' Day globally. Yesterday, 5th October 2020, we commemorated World Teachers' Day in all municipalities and districts, which are our branches. Today, the 6th October, we are here celebrating World Teachers' Day at national level. We want to thank you for saving this time off your busy schedule and accepting to be with us, and above all, accepting to host us here today at this function amidst the COVID-19 pandemic-related challenges. Your Excellency, we thank you so much for always being with us and accepting to officiate at our functions, and your acceptance and support you have always accorded us cannot be taken for granted. As teachers, we are so grateful, and we have your support in as far as making the education get to the level it is expected. We want to thank all the officials from the line ministries present, the ministers, for accepting to be part of this function. And this is a clear testimony for the support you have to the teachers of this country. Your Excellency, as teachers of this country under UNATU, we are here, we have a message to present, and this moment, permit me, Your Excellency, to invite the General Secretary, who is the spokesperson of Uganda National Teachers Union, to come and present the World Teachers' Day message for 2020 before you. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, First Lady and Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Belgium, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament present, Trade Union fraternity, both at national and regional, our valued education development partners, senior government officials from both central and local government, Uganda National Executive Council members present, our regional and branch executive members, UNATU members, UNATU staff, ladies and gentlemen. We are honored to commemorate our 2020 World Teachers' Day with you, Your Excellency. We last celebrated with you in 2017 in Moroto. We thank you for always delegating. Your Excellency, in 2018, Mama Ebre represented you when we were in Fort Portal. And in 2019, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Ebre represented you when we celebrated in Kamuli. World Teachers Day, held annually on 5th October since 1994, is an important event for the entire education community worldwide because it gives us an opportunity to celebrate the teaching profession and to promote the ILO UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of teachers of 1966. And the UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of higher education teaching personnel, which came in 1997. The theme for this year's World Teachers Day is Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. Due to the strict restrictions on physical and social gatherings following COVID-19 challenge, countries have had to creatively strategize on how to commemorate the day, with most opting for virtual online celebrations. And following this year's theme, Uganda has opted to observe the day with teachers taking the lead in climate change awareness through a nationwide tree planting exercise in our schools and education institutions. Your Excellency, we request, as a chief guest and therefore chief planter, we request that you launch the tree planting campaign. We are not stopping today. We shall continue to plant trees in our schools and away from the schools, because we know what it means in terms of climate change. Why planting the trees? According to the National Forest Cover Report of 2016, produced by the National Forest Authority, in a span of only 25 years, between 1990 and 2015, Uganda's forest estate shrank from 24% to 9% despite public campaigns to encourage tree planting. It was noted that a lot of forest cover is being transformed into farmland. As teachers, we are concerned about the adverse effects of the declining forest cover, not only on the climate, but also on the general health and the livelihood of Ugandans. Therefore, for the 2020 World Teachers Day, we have chosen to be part of the solution. According to the Rainforest Alliance, forests or trees are our best defense against climate change. As the saying goes, that charity begins at home, our tree planting campaign will be prioritized in schools and education institutions. In every district, municipality, or city, UNATO has selected 10 schools and institutions per sub-county where not less than 10 trees were planted. Your Excellency, aware that we needed trees, our focus was on fruit trees. And we shall highlight why fruit trees. Importance of these trees. One is better retention. Learners retain more information if they spend more time in green spaces. Less sun exposure. Tree shade for playgrounds reduces ultraviolet rays exposure. Better concentration. Trees can have a relaxing effect on learners and can therefore influence their academic performance. It also reduces pollution. Tree foliage filters pollutants from the air and converts carbon dioxide into the much-needed oxygen. Trees can help cool school environments during the dry seasons. Fruit trees can supplement on the school menu and income. Trees planted on school grounds provide opportunities for environmental education, giving learners an opportunity to think about environmental conservation. Some trees have medicinal benefits. Trees also provide habitat for different species of insects, birds, and plants, which can give learners real-life examples when learning about biodiversity. Trees act as windbreaks. Trees stabilize the soil and give life to the world's wildlife. Education amidst COVID-19 crisis. 2020 has been one of the most challenging years in the recent history. With over 90% of the global student population out of school at the height of the pandemic, education has been severely impacted by the spread of COVID-19. Your Excellency, you have been exceptional in the fight against COVID-19. Under your wise and strategic leadership, the country has kept moving forward amidst the pandemic. Additionally, through the strict measures you put in place, the virus has not ravaged the beloved nation, as has been the case in some of the countries, especially the developed world. The teachers applaud you because of it, because it is evident and very clear that you truly love our country. It is therefore not a surprise that Uganda is ranked as the best country in Africa in terms of suppressing the COVID-19 pandemic in the month of August 2020, according to Lancet COVID-19 Commission data. The teachers are also grateful for your continued commitment to ensure that amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, when schools and education institutions were closed to avoid the spread of the virus, Your Excellency, you ensured that they continued to receive their salaries. Your Excellency, the teachers are appreciative of all the support given to them. And Your Excellency, like the saying goes, a good turn deserves another. 2021 is knocking at the door. Your Excellency, the teachers have also been making a contribution in the education sector during the crisis as follows. Some teachers have had to devise creative and strategic ways to ensure the continuity of learning during the lockdown through distance and online learning on TVs, radios, newspapers, and other platforms with little or no experience. Some teachers have had to deliver take-home self-study packages to learners amidst challenges in public transport. Some teachers, through their own initiative and desire for learning to continue, have posted their lessons, study notes, and revision questions online for the benefit of all. Some have taken personal responsibility to check in with their learners through online platforms such as WhatsApp to ensure that they remain motivated to return to school when they reopen. Some teachers visit homes to pick up work and bring back revisions and feedback. Teachers have also formed their own online communities through social media, where they share ideas, good pedagogical practices, and learn from one another as a way of keeping motivated. As UNATU, we have also been engaging and guiding government through the Ministry of Education and Sports on how to safeguard and ensure the health, safety, and well-being of teachers, learners, parents, guardians, and the entire education or institution community as plans for reopening in Uganda progresses. Reopening of schools and education institutions. Your Excellency, on 20th September 2020, you made a public announcement that schools in Uganda will reopen on 15th October 2020 for finalists and candidate classes. This declaration has stirred anxiety, fear, and panic in some of the teachers who are consistently asking UNATU whether they are safe. UNATU previously issued our proposed guidelines to government that must be considered before school reopening to safeguard the lives of learners, teachers, and the entire school community. The teachers are not yet convinced that the required preparation has been done. Your Excellency, there is a need for more engagement to provide psychosocial support to the teachers as we count down to the 15th day. Some of the questions they continuously ask: what safety measures are in place to safeguard teachers? Are students' books safe to mark? Will I be able to teach for a full day with a mask on without compromising my health? If I have existing health complications and I am therefore vulnerable to COVID-19, how can I be supported? If a COVID-19 case is identified within the school, will the entire school population be quarantined? If a particular teacher is quarantined, who will take on his or her workload amidst teacher shortage challenges? What if a COVID-19 positive case is identified among the learners or teachers? How do I cope with the panic that could ensue among the learners and teachers? When will the heads of education institutions be trained on COVID-19 management? When will teachers be trained on COVID-19 management? Who will recruit and deploy the medical personnel to the education institutions? Recovery of learning loss. Questions include: how will I finish the syllabus in the given time frame? Will all the resources I need be available in time? If I am not able to complete the syllabus on time, will I be penalized in the current new normal? What if candidates do not perform as expected because of the psychological torture they have gone through? What will it be? Boosting immunity through good nutrition is being encouraged. Are there funds for feeding learners? This has been a rhetoric question. School feeding remains a challenge in most of our schools. What deliberate efforts are being put in place to ensure that the learners return to school? Some learners have been absorbed into child labor. Some have been married off, and many have fallen pregnant. We want to thank Mama. Recently, she was encouraging that even those candidates who have been impregnated, for one reason or the other, should be allowed. But how do we see it happen? Transport. How are teachers supposed to get to school if they do not have private means? And they live far away from the school and cannot be accommodated close by. And what is the essence of advising teachers and learners not to use public means of transport, yet they live in households with people who use taxis and borders on a daily basis? Has the government released the capitation grants to enable school heads and managers make the necessary preparations for reopening? Your Excellency, we have had a nasty experience where capitation grants were sent to schools and later recalled. The schools can never close business completely, Your Excellency. And therefore, we need your wise guidance on this matter. Your Excellency, some cows, chief administrative officers, and town clerks are misrepresenting government and tarnishing your name under the guise of returning capitation grants intact, to the extent of refusing accountability for the funds. Your Excellency, as we talk now, the head teachers of Kapchorwa district have not been paid their salaries, and the cow has refused to accept accountability for the funds. Your Excellency, your children are suffering. We request for guidance, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, teachers are committed to returning to school, but will be more comfortable if the above-mentioned questions are answered satisfactorily so that we go and build the nation together. Support requested by teachers. Your Excellency, the teachers who are also your strong allies request for the following support. Going with the current times, the requests have been summarized in the acronym COVID to make it easier for you to remember under the new normal. And this is how we have come up with the support for the teachers. Your Excellency, C, we have taken C to stand for capitalization of teachers' circles. And this would be best at district level. Your Excellency, teachers' circles, when managed and well capitalized, go a long way to improve the welfare of teachers. They promote a saving culture among teachers, offer interest-friendly loans, provide regular financial and investment education for teachers, support teachers to start income-generating activities, and even continue to offer support to ensure profitability. Your Excellency, the teachers request that you invest more money in establishment and capitalization of teachers' circles. UNATO has already established structures in every district that can mobilize the teachers and, most importantly, give your office regular feedback on the progress and management of the funds. Financial mismanagement is one of the reasons why some of the circles fail. Your Excellency, we thank you for giving us Uganda shillings 17,185 million out of the 25 billion promised in 2011. Your Excellency, Microfinance Support Center has continued to superglue on our 9,317,000,000, which they received from the Ministry of Education and Sports in the financial years of 2013-2014, 2014-2015. Your Excellency, even after your instruction for them to give us our funds, in 2016 and 2017, while presiding over the National World Teachers' Day celebrations in Rugogo Indoor Stadium and Moroto, respectively. Your Excellency, teachers needed this money earlier than yesterday. It is overdue, and yet intended beneficiaries are struggling economically. Your Excellency, I also draw your attention to the 22 billion COVID-19 relief grant that you put in place for teachers in private institutions. To date, the beneficiaries have not seen a coin of this money. This matter needs your urgent attention before these funds go missing. You can hear, Your Excellency, we are singing the money of 2013 in 2020. We thank the First Lady and the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports for the efforts so far made in following up this grant. If we don't thank her, we shall have done injustice. Your Excellency, letter O, we have taken it to stand for operationalization. Operationalization of the social dialogue framework. Your Excellency, under your leadership, we want to thank you for approving the National Teachers Policy on 1st April 2019. The social dialogue framework is one of the frameworks to implement the National Teachers Policy. So within the education sector, we feel social dialogue is a vital component in achieving the objective of quality education for all, as highlighted in its Sustainable Development Goal number 4. Teachers are the persons most responsible for implementing education reforms, and without their full involvement in key aspects of education objectives and policies, the objectives may not be obtained or often fall short of their goal. The process of social dialogue shows that teachers' opinions matter in itself, which is a motivation factor for better performance. We thank our Mother Ministry under the stewardship of the First Lady for coming up with the social dialogue framework. Teachers request that the social dialogue framework is implemented expeditiously. Your Excellency, letter V, we have brought it to talk about the vehicles. Vehicles to support our Mobilizing for Quality Education campaign. Your Excellency, you promised UNATU leadership 3 cars far back in August 2015. And this was in Moroto. So far, we thank you very much for the first car, which was received in December 2015. Some of the immediate actions that the cars will be used for in this COVID-19 period include using the vehicles to monitor the situation of teachers in the districts when schools reopen, keep an eye on the implementation of SOPs in schools, as well as mobilizing and building capacity of teachers to form and manage circles at the district level. Teachers' request for the remaining 2 cars to enable us to reach out to the entire country in mobilizing for quality education campaign. There is also implementation of the incentive framework. Your Excellency, the incentive framework is also part of the national teacher policy. The element of recognizing outstanding teachers and rewarding them should be revived. As for motivation purposes, government must adequately plan and budget for this process and not leave it at the discretion of private institutions or individual efforts. Your Excellency, teachers also need to be seen awarded medals because they have done much. The teacher incentive framework is currently in place. Your Excellency, teachers request that the implementation of the teacher incentive framework is given urgent attention. Your Excellency, far back in 2010, you had launched the Presidential Educators Excellence Awards. So, Your Excellency, those would fit very well under the teacher incentive framework. And D, we are looking at designation. Designation of World Teachers' Day as a national public holiday in recognition of the teachers' outstanding contribution to nation building and promotion of quality public education. Your Excellency, you have continuously committed to following up with the Cabinet on this matter at every World Teachers' Day celebrations. Your Excellency, imagine the honor that would be accorded to the teachers if the whole country took off one day to celebrate the hard work that they do daily. The concern that other professions will also demand for similar recognition does not hold much water, because it is the teachers who make all other professions possible. Teachers request that 5th October be designated as a national public holiday because the national recognition and appreciation of the profession will in a way help to improve public perception of teaching and resultantly make it more attractive to new entrants. Your Excellency, the COVID-19 pandemic that led to the closure of schools and education institutions has proved beyond reasonable doubt that technology cannot replace teachers, and that learners are safer in schools with teachers than at home with their parents. Fast-tracking the implementation of the national teacher policy. Your Excellency, allow me to also mention the importance of the national teachers policy that was approved by Cabinet in April 2019 and later launched by the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament during the National World Teachers' Day celebrations in Kamuli Municipality, where she represented you. The national teachers policy has the potential to reform the teaching profession, especially if implementation is done in partnership with UNATU and other education stakeholders. We request that government expedites the implementation of this policy and address the gaps and regulate the profession. As I conclude, I would like to thank our Mother Ministry of Education and Sports, the Ministries of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Public Service, Gender, Labor and Social Development, Local Government, Kampala Capital City Authority, and all our partners for their continued support to UNATU and the entire teaching fraternity. Your Excellency, We know that providing quality education to our nation's children is regarded as one of your priority areas. The reason why you started UPE, USE, and Operate. As teachers, we pledge to work and support you in this noble cause of achieving quality education for national development and achieving SDG 4. Finally, Your Excellency, we will soon be extending an invitation requesting you to preside over the groundbreaking ceremony for the state-of-the-art magnificent structure that UNAT plans to construct at our home on Plot 28/30 Bombo Road. It will be one of the best structures in the city because teachers always aim higher. For God and my country. Because we are, the nation is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baguma, the Secretary General for UNATU, for speaking on behalf of the teachers of Uganda. How many are we? The teachers, the active and the retired. I'm sure he will answer by the end of this exercise. You have raised a number of issues. You have made a request of COVID. I think that one nobody will forget it. But some of the questions you raised could be responded to now before His Excellency comes on. So I would like to request the leader, the team leader of the science team, to come and respond to some of the questions that needed a scientific explanation.
Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the First Lady Mama, Honorable Ministers, teachers, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Misaki Waengera. I chair the Scientific Advisory Committee on COVID-19 for the Ministry of Health. I am here with my colleagues, Dr. Daniel Okero Ayen, who is the Director of Health for KCCA, and Dr. Kajumbura Henry, who is the ad hoc chair for the Infection Prevention Control Committee. These people have been working with the Ministry of Education largely to develop the SOPs along with the Ministry of Health. They will be answering the questions. Dr. Henry will answer 3 questions, and Dr. Ayen will answer another 3 questions. But maybe before they come, we just want to thank you, the Ministry of Education, and your stakeholders, and of course the teachers, for accepting the invitation to resume our social life amidst the challenge of COVID-19. It is important to understand that COVID-19 might stay here for a while. There are prospects for a vaccine, but the process of producing safe vaccines, trying them, is a long one. And while we are optimistic that we shall have vaccines, that might take a while. So we must adjust our lives to accommodate living with COVID-19 here. The good news is that the risk for contracting COVID-19 is largely mitigatable through following the prescribed SOPs by the Ministry of Health. Over the past 7 months, the National Task Force chaired by His Excellency has widely shared information and knowledge and we hope that every Ugandan in every corner has actually heard about COVID-19. The Minister of Education, working with the Minister of Health, the scientists, and the stakeholders, came up with SOPs for the schools, and it is important that the schools and the institutions and the teachers and the learners accept and take up these SOPs as their own. They do not belong to the Ministry of Health. They actually belong to the communities within the schools. So I think it is time for us to put the SOPs in practice, as my colleagues will tell you. Dr. Henry.
Your Excellency the President and Mama, the First Lady, it's a great honor that I'm here to communicate to the teachers, our teachers and other members of the community. As you've heard from my chair, the Ministry of Health, the Scientific Committee and Ministry of Education supported the Ministry of Education to work closely with various stakeholders to develop standard operating procedures. And these standard operating procedures cover the key elements of ensuring that transmission of COVID is minimized, catching people at the gate as much as possible, the risk people who are likely to be infected, ensuring that they stay at home, those who probably have symptoms, the temperature guns to screen people, so catching people at the gate before they get in. Masks, use of masks. One of the measures that the ministry has collaboratively put in place with the Ministry of Health and Education is to ensure that each student receives a mask at the gate as they report. So masks are critical, as you probably already know. Masks are critical because they control if I'm infected, they are a source control. They keep my COVID with me, and also they protect me against catching COVID from others. The physical distancing is part of the SOPs, and that is why that's why the reopening is gradual, so that we don't have too many children at the same time. The hand hygiene, I'm sure the facilities, Ministry of Education is working with the schools to ensure that hand hygiene facilities are in place by the time the schools open. Information education materials to guide people on how to protect themselves against COVID. Ultimately, it is protecting oneself and protecting oneself that shall ensure I don't catch COVID, and if I don't catch COVID, others don't catch COVID. And also educating people to ensure that they do not catch COVID. You know, it's a multiplier effect. If we all don't catch COVID, then the risk of transmitting it is eliminated. So those measures are being put in place. But one thing I want to underscore is that even when you go back, the measures in the schools might be there. What we are seeing from colleagues who are healthcare workers is sometimes when they are at the facility, especially in the treatment unit, the measures are very strong. But when they are away from the treatment unit, they tend to relax, and that is increases their risk of catching COVID. So we realize that some of our healthcare workers are catching COVID outside the treatment units and in the community. So it is very important that the association emphasizes to its members that even out in the community, they should put these protective measures in place. So the second question was, are students, so in other words, to summarize on the first question about the measures that have been put in place, so that we've developed standard operating, the Ministry of Education has developed standard operating procedures and are putting in place the logistics to implement the standard operating procedures. So the second question is, are books safe to mark? Well, one of the modes of transmission of COVID, especially that was emphasized at the beginning, is that we thought more at the beginning that objects and surfaces readily transmit COVID, okay? The thinking is probably they are not as important objects, what we call formites or objects, are probably not as important today. But all the same, if a teacher is marking a book, for example, if I handle this paper, if it were contaminated, if I have basic knowledge about the transmission, I can protect myself readily. The issue is the virus getting from here to the soft parts of my face. So if I make sure that virus does not get from the paper to the soft parts of my face, then I'm well protected. And the major agent of transmitting it, of transferring from the paper to the soft part of my face is the hands. So I avoid touching my face, and if I have to, I make sure that my hands are clean or decontaminated. If I have to rub my eyes, if I have to rub my nose. So those basic precautions are what will ensure that there is really no problem with marking a book. Will I be able to teach for a full day with a mask on without compromising my health? Well, we assume that an average session probably takes 45 minutes to 1 hour, okay? So during that time you are teaching, you could have, and you're interacting in a large group with the children, you can have your mask on. But from time to time you can take breaks and remove your mask. So one should be able to spend the day with the mask on, but taking breaks. The important thing again is knowing when you can take a break. If you are not in a large gathering, you are away from people, you can take a break from the mask. So again, I think UNATO has, the teachers organization has a great role in making sure that teachers and the children understand the basics of transmission and the rationale as to why some of these measures are put in place. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Your Excellency, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, through you, allow me to respond to some of the questions. And one of them was, I'm Dr. Kelayen Daniel, Director of Public Health and Environment, Kampala Capital City Authority. Question was, if I have existing health complications and I'm therefore vulnerable to COVID-19, how can I be supported? Allow me to just go on the vulnerabilities here. One that we have noted, especially in our country, for those that have been progressing to the severe form, is diabetes. The others have been hypertensive, and you have also seen age, advanced age, those above 60. So we know that definitely there may be teachers who may be falling into this bracket. So yes, the vulnerabilities are there. But as my colleague has just said, there are precautions that we have to prevent ourselves. And one of them, as we say, is proper use of masks, hand hygiene, and also physical distancing. If each of us, as my colleague said, put on a mask, probably we are reducing the infection up to 85%. So just by the action of putting on a mask is there, then the others can be through your hand hygiene. And also the prevention, you avoid closed indoor spaces. If you can be able to do a lot of your activities outdoor, that will also be helpful in classes. But it is important to note that as we are speaking here, we are speaking of school as your workplace. You also come from communities that are your homes. You may go to church on Sunday. You may go to a wedding on Saturday. So whatever we are actually saying here is that your vulnerability does not start and stop at school, but it also extends in everywhere that you do interact. So one of the things we'd request is that as leaders that you are, interface with the teachers such that you can be able to know who falls in this bracket, because the first step is to find out that who are those teachers that have these vulnerabilities. So you should have a window through which people can confide to you that they have these vulnerabilities. The other, of course, is building up your immunity. And I tell people the rule of thumb is that any food that is colored will tend to have vitamins. The ones that are yellow will tend to have vitamin C. So that's what the mangoes and so on. But any colored food, any colored fruit will have vitamins in them. Next is, if COVID-19 is identified within a school, will the entire school population be quarantined? As we are working on the SOPs with the Ministry of Education, the principle was to have continuity of learning. So closing of a school will be an extreme measure. It won't be the first option. So what we'll look out here are who are the close contacts. Who are the people who have been spending a lot of time with this confirmed case, and those are the ones that are quarantined in a designated space. For boarding schools may either be in school, for the day schools may either be at home. So again, closure of schools is not the first, but it will be an extreme measure. So it does not mean that because you have a positive the case, the school should be closed. The last is if a COVID-19 positive case is identified among learners, how do I cope with the panic that could ensue among the learners and teachers? One of the things is that when schools do open, as leaders who you are, definitely for the planning purposes, you may get COVID-19 cases, because as we have said, we are in the stage 4 where we have diffuse community transmission. So definitely a few cases may be able to come up. So the important thing is it's easier said than done, but do not panic. That's what I'm saying, it's easier said than done. Because I'm going to be very realistic is that when a case tends to be found out in such congregate environments, you're going to get pressures from the parents who may drive to your gates and want to take their kids away. So this is something that will need all of us working together. It is not an issue for the teachers, an issue for education. Call in the health personnel. The health personnel will assist you on how to calm the parents and how to be able to talk to the people. But the first thing is to develop the confidence in the parents. The Ministry of Education has come up with SOPs, but also as teachers, start engaging the parents now. Just like you've gotten question and answers with us as scientists, take this down and start engaging with the parents that when your children come here, we are holding them in trust with you. And as the Secretary General said, that COVID has shown that that students are going to be safer in school. So let us have that communication. The second is that the SOPs have been widely shared. Let us get them let us internalize them such that we can also be able to teach. The others are drills. What we have seen happening in workplaces is that every morning before work begins, they will ask each other, who of you has a fever or does not feel well, who of you has a flu. So through that, you first get out those that may be high risk, and then you can then be able to share with the health personnel who can then take over from there. So the other is, as I said, you can also invite an expert, that's health personnel who can be able to come and assist you. Very quickly, those are the very quick things I can be able to go through, but it is important that you bring confidence that the people who are working with you know what they are doing, the health personnel, and yourself to exude confidence that the students are going to be safe wherever we are. But closure is a last resort, and someone getting COVID in the school should not be a reason to close. You should be able to build confidence that you can be able to move past that stage. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I would like to request all of us to join hands and appreciate the scientists for teaching us this afternoon. Thank you very much. The good news is that we teachers are lifelong learners, and I know that this afternoon we have learned a lot of science, and we are going to relay. That's what we are. We learn, and then we relay it to others. We give them the knowledge, the confidence, the competence, and then we move forward. So I'm happy that our team has been able to guide us through this. And just to add my voice to what they have said before I invite my permanent secretary, a lot of what you have asked are actually in the SPOs and the guidelines. And those SPOs and guidelines were sent to all districts and other local governments, and we requested them that they invited teachers to have them printed out and shared and gone through. I know that there may be need for some bit more training, but at least the basic information is there. So now, adding on to what they've said and the leadership you are going to put in disseminating this information, let's encourage our head teachers to make sure that they have a copy of the guidelines which are signed and a copy of the SOPs, and that will help us as we prepare to receive the children back. Now, I would like now to invite my permanent secretary to respond to some of the questions, and eventually invite Mama, the Minister of Education and Sports, to address you, and then we will continue. Please say it.
Thank you very much. As a way of appreciating what we are and where we have come from, as an organization, we have dedicated this week as a week of Appreciate My Teacher. From yesterday up to Friday, it is a week of Appreciate My Teacher, and we have 3 small things which we are requesting all Ugandans to do for their teachers. One is to send a simple message to that teacher who touched your life, to that teacher whom you recall having changed your life, and say, "Thank you, my teacher." In case you don't have the telephone contact of your teacher, simply go to any social media platform and put Dr. Kedres to the agenda, my teacher, thank you very much. And the world will read and you will have done your part. That's one. Number two is to wear orange tomorrow, Wednesday. Wednesday will be an orange day for the teachers. So join the teachers by putting on orange. For those who are putting it on today, we shall wash it and make sure it is ready tomorrow. So that we join our teachers, and we thank you very much for giving this day the respect. And the last one is to plant a tree. Since we have celebrated this World Teachers' Day by planting trees in the schools, we shall request you to plant a tree in appreciation of that teacher who touched your life. And every time you look at that tree, you recall your good teacher. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, they are adding on to the assignments. They are giving us, teachers are always giving assignments, but this last one is easy and exciting. For the 22 years I was before learners, I don't know, you don't know how excited I become when I pass anywhere in this country, because I meet them there. And they are always saying something. So we should say something to our teachers. It's exciting. And definitely I'll be the first one today. Your Excellency and Ma'am, I would like now to request the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Mr. Alex Kakoza, who leads the whole big team that touches the whole country, because every family in this country is a stakeholder in education. He's the technical person who drives all of us to make sure we do what we do. So please come over and respond to some of the questions as we continue.
Your Excellency the President, Mama, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, the Honorary Ministers of State present, Your Excellency the Ambassador of Belgium in Uganda, our dear teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I have about 4 issues that I should be responding to this afternoon. The first one is on capitation. The teachers wanted to know whether capitation grant has been released, and therefore the schools should be able to prepare for opening. Your Excellency, the Minister of Finance has released 32.6 billion in form of capitation for the schools to prepare for opening. This includes money for primary schools, for secondary schools, skilling the tertiary institutions, those are the TVET, and then the inspection and monitoring grant, plus KCCA. Your Excellency, the teachers also wanted to know who will be recruiting health workers in schools. The Ministry of Education and Sports, through the Education Service Commission, has been recruiting teachers for has been recruiting health workers for secondary schools and tertiary institutions like TVET institutions, and this policy, Your Excellency, shall continue. The district service commissions across the country recruit health workers in primary schools. There will be no massive recruitment, however, of medical personnel in our schools due to budgetary factors. So what will happen, Your Excellency, we're encouraging our schools to create linkages with our neighboring health facilities so that in case of any need to boost or to support their health personnel in the schools, they have the health institution at hand to come in and help them, Your Excellency. The teachers also wanted to know how we are implementing the teacher policy. They want it implemented very fast and implemented yesterday, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we are now drafting the principles for the National Teacher Council. Those principles are now before Cabinet. And from Cabinet, we shall have the bill going to Parliament, and then we shall have an act of Parliament that will help us to establish the National Teachers Council. In the meantime, Your Excellency, Mama appointed a task force which is defining the object of the Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education. And Your Excellency, this afternoon we have Professor Onyo, is the chairperson of UNITE, and Your Excellency, that means the teacher policy is off the ground and is under implementation. Your Excellency, the teachers also wanted to know when we are giving them or when they are receiving the 9.3 billion which remained on the 25 billion which they got, because so far they have got 17 billion and we are remaining with the 9.3 which was originally sent to the Microfinance Support Center. Your Excellency, we have had engagements now with the Minister of Finance and the Microfinance Support Center, and we have agreed that this money will be sent to Walium Sacco, and this money, the first batch of 6.7 is expected to be received by the end of next week. So finally this money, Your Excellency, shall be with the Walium Sacco, the Sacco which is under the management of UNATO. Lastly, Your Excellency, the 20 billion which you gave to the private teachers to support them during this period, we have also agreed with the Minister of Finance and the Microfinance Support Center, where it had been remitted, that this money shall be given to the teachers. This afternoon, our team is working out modalities on how that money shall be remitted and who shall have it. And we are planning to have the next meeting chaired by Honorable Seninde on the 8th, that's the day after tomorrow. And UNATO is part of these discussions, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, now it's my pleasure to invite Mama to come and also respond to some of the issues raised by UNATO, give her speech, and at her pleasure, I invite Your Excellency to address the gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament present here this afternoon, the Chairman of the Education Development Partners, our colleague, the Belgian Ambassador, invited guests in your various capacities, our dear teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to take off this mask briefly so that you can clearly understand what I'm saying. Mr. President, I want to thank you now for making the time in your busy schedule to host and officiate at this important day in the education calendar, the World Teachers' Day. As a sector, we appreciate your continued guidance and the support you have given to the teachers in this unprecedented season of COVID-19 pandemic. Let me now welcome all of you to this national celebration of the World Teachers' Day here at State House, Entebbe, and congratulate all the teachers of Uganda for making it to this day. Happy Teachers' Day to you all. And to those who could not be here because of the problem of COVID-19, we would have loved to have a big crowd of teachers in these gardens today for us to really celebrate the teachers of Uganda, but unfortunately it couldn't be. But it is good at least to have you representing them here this afternoon. And we couldn't hold this event yesterday, the 5th of October, which is the actual World Teachers' Day, because of the scheduled Monday Cabinet meeting. But I'm glad that we are here today. I was also happy to learn that you have chosen to observe this special day through a nationwide tree planting exercise in our schools and education institutions. And that is really good, because I think with teachers and schools, we can do a good job of planting trees if we put an emphasis on it. I remember to have lived in a country where you are not allowed to cut a tree unless you plant one. And you know the challenge we have now in Uganda of the trees, how many trees we have cut and the percentage left standing. So we really have to plant trees, and I know that children can enjoy planting trees as an exercise, and schools can make this exercise enjoyable, but really put back the trees that we have cut in the country. Mr. President, the education sector has been greatly affected by the current pandemic. The closure of education institutions in March did not only affect the 15 million learners, but it negatively impacted the lives of our teachers. Our teachers from government schools continued to receive their salaries by God's grace, and we are grateful to government for this. Unfortunately, the 350,000 teachers from our private schools were left without any means of livelihood since then, and many of them have had to do some odd jobs for survival. So allow me to thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of the education sector, again for the grant of the 22 billion shillings that you heard them talk about. UNATU was talking about that just briefly before me, which you extended to our teachers through the Microfinance Support Center in this very difficult season. I'm aware, as you have heard, that it has not been easy for the teachers to access this money yet. However, we have discussed this with the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, the Microfinance Support Center, together with the leadership of the teachers from private institutions and UNATU, to discuss these bottlenecks preventing teachers from accessing this money. And as you heard our PS now say, we believe that is going to be history, because that money will finally reach the teachers. In addition to this grant, I'm happy to report that with your guidance, Mr. President, and in consultation with the Ministry of Finance, and through our interactions with the leadership of the teachers, government has put in place some more measures to support our teachers, and these include: one, government agreeing to include the education sector under the categories to borrow from UDB, giving the private school owners the opportunity to access long-term finance loans only for infrastructure development. And two, in line with your directive, NSSF waived off the contribution of employees and employers to NSSF for a specific period, given that the institutions were not earning. In line with the budget speech for 2020-21, government agreed to defer the payment of pay-as-you-earn because they were not earning anything, at least not the private teachers. Now, those with outstanding loans were advised to approach their respective commercial banks to reschedule their loans, and the central bank accordingly issued guidelines to this effect, and no additional interest is to be charged on the rescheduled monthly loan repayments. So, Mr. President, when education institutions were closed, our ministry developed the education sector COVID-19 response plan to guide our response. The plan focuses on three main objectives. One, to ensure continuity of learning during the closure of education institutions. And two, to prepare the sector for resumption and management of schooling once schools reopen. And three, to build the sector's capacity for resilience and response to emergencies in the post-COVID-19 period. Now, to facilitate continuity of learning, we printed and distributed home study materials through, though not to all our learners due to inadequate resources, and we delivered lessons on radios. We plan to enhance homeschooling by procuring the 9 million radios that we have talked about before for all households, and I'm happy to report that this procurement is in advanced stages. Therefore, on this special occasion of World Teachers' Day, a day every year when we recognize the pivotal role played by our teachers in shaping the lives of our young generation, a day for this nation and the world over to appreciate teachers for the work they do to shape our lives and nurture our children, it is gratifying to know that our education institutions are reopening to at least the candidates and finalists next week. This is a step of faith, and we're counting on the grace of God and the support of all stakeholders, the parents and the entire community, and the teachers, of course. This year, for 7 months, as we all know, the nation has felt more than ever before the importance of our teachers in not only the lives of our children, but the whole education system and society in general. Teachers' role as great custodians of learners for the most part of their young age became evident, and every parent felt the impact of COVID-19 on parenting and the future of their families without school and without teachers. And so I salute and thank the teachers of Uganda for the great effort they put into all this to sustain our education normally, and what they add to the well-being of our families and society. Now, as we reopen the schools, I want you to know that we feel for you and we care about not only the safety of our learners, but also for the safety of our teachers. Because without the teachers, we cannot regain the stability of the schools, as I'm sure we all know. And now to respond to a few of the questions, more of the questions Mr. Waguma raised. I will start with the one where he talks about boosting immunity through good nutrition. The question was, are there funds for feeding learners? And the answer is no. But we're talking to those schools, the boarding schools, which feed children anyway, which normally feed the learners in school. We're saying that they should deliberately try to boost the diet with affordable additional foods. That is something that can be done if they really look out for what is nutritious and affordable and add it on the diet that they feed to the children in boarding schools. But even for day schools, I'd like to appeal to the teachers to sensitize communities, because you see, teachers are not just for learners alone. Teachers are supposed to transform villages and transform nations. So I'm appealing to them to sensitize our communities about simple, nutritious foods that are available in our villages, in our homes, so that they add that on the diet so that children can eat nutritious food at home. Those who are in day schools, they eat at home. They are supposed to pack food to school. So if the parents are really deliberately now trying to change the diet and make it more nutritious for the children, it will be much better for everybody. The other question was, when will the heads of education institutions be trained? And I think some of our scientists answered this, but I just wanted to say what Kedres just said, that the SOPs we sent to all education institutions, both public and private, are sufficient training to protect you and protect the children from catching COVID-19. That's what we are doing, because there isn't so much information that is available that people are supposed to learn in managing COVID-19. What we are appealing to people to do is to protect themselves from catching COVID-19. And so the SOPs are really deliberately coming to all the schools, to all the teachers, therefore, to ensure that they know what they ought to do to protect themselves and also protect the children. When then one gets the virus, then it is the work of the health practitioners at the hospitals. So that you need to also know, because we suggested from the Ministry of Education that every school must have an arrangement with a health facility that is near to them, so that if there is any need, they know what to do quickly without having to start fumbling and trying to know what to do. Because when there is a problem, when the virus is there, then the health practitioners are the ones that must deal with whoever, the child or the teacher. And that guidance is part of the SOPs. The other question was what deliberate steps are being put in place to ensure that learners return to school. Now, I have many times told you and everybody, our stakeholders, that education is a shared responsibility. It's not just for teachers, it's not just for Ministry of Education. Education is for parents, it is for our communities, it is for Ministry of Education and teachers, so it is a shared responsibility. Now, when we realized that COVID-19 was here, and it is a dangerous pandemic, we closed schools so that now the parents take over the care of the children. Now we think that at least the candidate classes should go back to school. So we have informed the parents, and it is now their responsibility to take the children back to school. So all of us must play our role. You can't say to government, what arrangements are you making for children to come to school? Everybody has a part to play, and if all of us play our parts, then the children will be in school. So the rest of your questions were answered by the scientists and also our peers. Therefore, I call upon the teachers to empathize with the situation that COVID-19 has imposed on the entire society and recognize that we cannot remain in this situation forever. But with God's help, we will find ways of living through it and moving on. Thus, the importance of this year's World Teachers' Day theme, which is Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. That's your theme, you determined that. And so we are hoping that we are learning together and we're really going to manage and go forward. We must all now put on the armor of God and face the situation with new inspiration, with new determination, and new ways of doing things. It is time for a paradigm shift. We cannot keep doing things the same way and expect different results. We must build our capacity for resilience and response to emergencies in the post-COVID-19 period. When I met the vice chancellors of private universities in this season, I urged them to begin to think, to plan for the endowment funds for their universities, so that they are not just forever waiting and looking to government and looking to support from elsewhere, but to plan for endowment fund. That's how universities elsewhere manage their programs at universities and even give scholarships to other countries. So we need to begin to plan, to think before we are in trouble. We need, therefore, to also think about what schools can do differently to ensure financial security in times of crisis. It is time to think outside the box. We must now be more conscious of the environment we will work in and ensure quick reaction to challenges that we face as they occur. As ever, government recognizes you teachers as change agents whose contribution to growth and development of the country cannot be overemphasized. And so, at this moment of turmoil in our education system, we rely on you to make things happen, to bring back stability in our school system. I commend all Ugandan teachers for the resilience exhibited in the face of these challenges over the last 7 months. We recognize the challenges that many teachers went through during this difficult time, especially those in private schools. We pray that all teachers can get back to work now and we all regain as much of our normal life as we can with God's help. We acknowledge the contribution that many teachers made during this time to ensure that there was continuity of learning. And I again call upon you to continue to do your part as we open the schools partially, because many of our learners will still remain at home, as you know, and will need your support. The ministry has finalized preparation of learning materials that will be used by those learners remaining at home for now, and we should be able to keep them engaged as well as we prepare the candidates to complete their cycle of education at the various levels. So as I conclude, I want to assure you, teachers of Uganda, that government recognizes your central role in education and remains committed to working with you. And the management of the institutions to address issues that affect service delivery. I must also add that you should include prayer. Prayer like never before in all you do. You perhaps by now have realized that the solution to COVID-19 and other human problems cannot always be money alone. We have good examples of nations that are not short of money but have lost so many of their nationals. Therefore, let us make the time to pray for our schools as we also observe the SOPs. But remember always that God has the power to protect life. We will continue to do all we can to support your efforts in our joint struggle for recovery from the effect that COVID-19 has had on our education system. I wish you all a happy Teachers' Day, and it is now my singular honor to welcome our President to address you, the teachers of Uganda. I thank you and God bless you.
Sit down, sit down. The Honorable Ministers, His Excellency the Ambassador of Belgium, the Honorable Members of Parliament, the Organization of Teachers, UNATU, and the technical staff. First of all, I congratulate the teacher fraternity on this year's Teachers' Day. Congratulations. Now, education. We had education before colonialism. You know, Africans have been here for the last 4.5 million years. But people don't remember this. They seem to think that we have just come here. We have been here for the last 4.5 million years. And all human beings started here. Even this Belgian is a former African. So therefore, we had education long before colonialism. That education, however, was in two parts. One part was home education. People were educated at home by the families. I had all my education on cows and crops from home. I didn't get it from school. That was one form of education. The second form was, before colonialism, was mainly in the palaces. These kingdoms here had some educational arrangements, especially to do with army. The young people would go for military training and for other forms of training. But there was also a third form of education, which was, I have resurrected it for you recently. It's called emyoga. Emyoga. The word omwoga is a Runyankore word which means specialization for livelihood. I think those who studied English history, what we would call emyoga here is what they were calling the guilds around the Middle Ages. So here you would have the blacksmithing families, abahesi, passing on that knowledge through the father to son and so on. The ababayizi, carpenters, the same. Abanogozi, the ones who do clay, the same. It would be through the family or apprenticeship with the family. So the pre-colonial education really was therefore in those three parts: the home, the palace, and the emyoga. The omoga means the specialization for livelihood. Blacksmith, that is omoga. Abanogozi, clay people, the ones who use clay, that's omoga. The people who specialize in water transport, those are called abarimbi. There was everything. The ones who are making backcloth, abakomaji. So when you are your association of teachers and all of that, you should also answer the question of what are you teaching exactly? Because you may find that you are teaching a lot of confusion. So this was education before colonialism. Of course, it had also a lot of problems, the negative side, which was the weakness of Africa, which was emphasizing tribal chauvinism. This tribe thinking it is better than the other tribe. That was the negative part. Tribal chauvinism. Chauvinism means arrogance, when you think that you are better than the other people. So therefore, when you are teachers, you should study what are you teaching. Don't just say teacher. So now, because of internal weaknesses, Africa was colonized. This was not something to be proud of. Why were we colonized? How could foreigners come and take us take over our country. How? Were we maggots or what? That means we had internal weaknesses in the structure of the society. Now, when the colonials took over, they introduced now formal education, which had like two parts, maybe three parts. The edition was just literacy in the early days, literacy just to be able to be clerks and small jobs to support the colonial system. But gradually, they introduced, you could say, 3 lines of education. One line was technical, some technical training, technical skills. The other line was science education, starting with Makerere, which started as a medical school. And then also, later on, gradually social sciences. So, technical, science, and social science, natural sciences, and social sciences. The science side was much of the time in Africa, not just here, much of the time theoretical. And that's why Africa is still dependent up to today. Importing Japanese cars, machines all coming from somewhere else. Even the computers, my computer people, I ask them, can you make a computer? They say, no, we only use computers. So when somebody says, I am a computer scientist, he means he has been trained in using other people's computers. So I say, but when will you make your own? That one doesn't occur to him even. That is an African. Africans are not supposed to make computers. They are supposed to use other people's computers. I called Bariamureva here, the former Vice Chancellor of Makerere. He said, you're a scientist, because he said he was a computer scientist. That's what he said. I said, okay, you make a computer. Up to now, I have not seen Bariamureva's. So, that is the natural science of Africa. Science to consume other people's products. Other people's vehicles, other people's consumer computers, the what. Now, for the social science, that's even more tragic, because that one was clearly much of it off the point. European history. I know all whenever I meet the British, I ask them a question, which they don't answer. They all fail it. Say, which is the highest point of Britain? They don't know, but me I know. It is a small hill called Ben Nevis, 4,441 feet above sea level. They call it a hill, but it is just like Because that's what we were learning. The geography of the British Isles. I knew all the rocks, all the what? So, that was the education in the colonial times. Since the NRM came, we have been pushing, as you can see, and it's beginning to be some changes because, for instance, when we came in, we started a faculty of food science at Makerere University. It was not there before. There was no faculty of food science. And I'm very glad to know that those people who went for that course, soon they started using their knowledge to understand better our foods. Because people were not eating our foods, eating bread. I don't eat bread myself. It's only when I'm starving that I would eat bread when I'm outside. I don't eat rice because I don't eat bread because I'm not a European. I don't eat rice because I'm not an Indian. Every morning, Mama here, my foods, muhogo, millet, akaro, empogora. This is what I eat. Because we have our foods. The millet is one of the richest foods in life. It is the richest, one of the richest, millet especially. It has got the proteins, has got the carbohydrate, has got iron. So you wonder why anybody would eat. I can't eat rice. I was last eating rice in Dar es Salaam when we were in exile. That's when I was eating rice. So when we started the faculty of food science, those scientists really woke up. And they have done a wonderful job. Dr. Muranga with the bananas, Jamhangire with the shande, the Baganda call it omubisi, Banyankore call it shande. There was a man called Dr. Serunjoji who did the research in Enkamio. Enkamio is, I don't think you know what Enkamio is. I would take long if I try to explain to you all this. So, there we are moving. Africa to wake up, and because science is understanding the laws of nature and how to use them for our benefit. And nature is God's creation. So really when you understand science, you understand God's laws which he put in place. Gravity, what have you. These are natural laws which we needed to know and then use. So these Africans from that faculty of food science and technology have really woken up, and they are doing a good job. But also the other faculties, like the faculty of engineering, they have woken up. They made the Kira vehicle, electric vehicle. They made Kayora, the minibus. So there is some movement there. Movement of indigenizing the understanding and the use of science and making ourselves autonomous. On the side of social sciences, we still have a tug of war, because when NRM came, through Chankwanzi, we have been emphasizing the understanding of political economy, but you still find some other tendencies. But even when they were teaching us colonial history, if you were serious, you could see some useful parts of that science, although really it was for something else. Like the history of the unification of Russia, how the Russian Empire grew, the unification of Germany. Germany was not united until 1871. The unification of Italy, you could learn lessons. Actually, for us, we learned very good lessons from those pan-German movements, pan-Slavic movements in Europe. Although they were not teaching us for that purpose, but for us, we gained what we wanted. So therefore, on the natural sciences, we need to intensify the use of science in an integrated way. Why should Uganda export cotton just as cotton, not as textiles, coffee, and so on? So this should be taught. Because you can imagine, for much of the colonial period, Uganda was exporting cotton and importing cloth. These days, during Amin's time, actually even more distortions came up. We are still, until NRM came, some little cotton was being exported, but much of it had collapsed. And Ugandans and East Africans, even East Africans, we are putting on, even now they are still putting on, second-hand clothes. Where do the second-hand clothes come from? I don't know. What happened to the previous owners? Of these clothes? The shirt I'm putting on is Ugandan from cotton to garment. It is made by the fine spinners, but they mix it a bit with polyester, a fiber which is imported to make it stronger. So really, the understanding of science, of technology, must be to make Uganda, to make Africa integrated and self-sustaining. That's what we said in point number 5 of our 5-point program when we came from the bush in 1986. On the side of social science, we need to emphasize liberation. And you cannot do that unless you bring out political economy. Political economy helps you to understand the laws that govern the motion of society, how society moves from one level to another level. This is taught at Chankwanzi, but I don't know whether it spreads out to the other education institutions. That one I have not checked. So therefore, yes, it's good I congratulate you on being teachers, but teachers can also be misteachers. They can teach wrong things. So we must make sure that we teach what will help Africa to move forward. In the Bible, do you remember there were Pharisees? Do you know those were big teachers at that time, like professor, but they were teaching the wrong things. You remember Jesus was fighting with them, with the Pharisees. The Pharisees, they were like. So I have not. I've forgotten what we discussed in the curriculum development, because I think that's where the front line is. I need to be reminded. But since you told me, you reminded me it was the Teacher's Day, they had prepared a speech for me to read, but I decided to make my own remarks rather than reading this one here, so that I can also contribute to. Now, so therefore, we need to emancipate science towards the inventions, and we need to emancipate social sciences. Now, on coming to the immediate issue of the corona, we had to those people of yours, the Banyankore, have a word called okunzia. Okunzia. When a danger is coming, you shift something from danger to where there is safety. It's called okunzia. I don't know how they will call it in Uganda. How would you say to put away from danger? Oktasa. You know, Uganda needs some support from Nyankore. Because Oktasa is like to save. To save. In Nyankore, that was Okujuna. You know, Nyankore has got so many words. So there is that word for Okujuna. Okujuna will be Oktasa. But Okunzia is Oktasa by putting away. Oktangira. That's also another word in Nyankore, it's Okuzibira. So the Kunzia is like, if there is a fire here, I take away the child so that it is Oktasa, yes, but Oktasa in a specific way by putting away. Kuugura. Okay, if it is like that. Katumaraga general. So Okunzia, we had to kunzia our children, to put them where there was no this danger. You are mixing up issues. You see, you people, the way you talk. Again, the Banyankore have a saying, they are telling you that the house is on fire. For you are saying, you prepare the bed for me to sleep. Sleep where? The house is on fire. 34 million people in the world have been infected with the corona now. 34 million. That is like 2/3 of the population of Uganda. 34 million. And 1 million have died and buried. Not died to stay here around. Yes. 1 million have died. In 7 months, not 2 years or a year, no, just from December when it started up to now, it's like 9 months. So it's a very big crisis. It's not a joke. So when you are talking, oh, the children got pregnant there, okay, if they got pregnant, at least they are alive. Don't talk like children, please. Oh, they got pregnancy, what? Fine, fine. Pregnancy doesn't kill, it causes some problems, but it's not the same thing as dying. Stop bringing like and unlike terms, comparing in your teaching, what you call like and unlike terms. You are comparing uncomparables. Stop this. This was the main thing, was okunzia, the children. This was the issue. And in 9 months, I have not heard that any child has died from corona. They have got pregnancy, they have got what? Fine, that's another problem. But not dying. The issue was not dying. This was the issue. Yeah. So, after we have hidden them away, we prepared a bit better, more treatment centers, and we have understood this disease more. As you heard those scientists say, we now think that it is safe to open for only the candidate classes. Why the candidate classes? Because we don't want them to miss a year. Because if they miss a year, they will lose. But it will also create problems for us. How shall we handle 2 years in one? If the ones of this year don't go away, what shall we do the ones of next year? Can we manage 2 batches? It's very, very, very complicated. But we think, because these are 1.2 million out of the 15 million, the finalists are 1.2 million. They are the only ones going back to school. So the whole space of the school is available to them. So they can do the social distancing, the what? Because they are fewer. They are fewer. Then Baguma is his name. You are chairman, you are secretary. So Baguma says, but how will they come to school? Yeah, but we have already told you that public transport was opened. You remember? You remember we had suspended public transport, but later on we opened it, provided you travel in COVID compliant ways. A minibus, instead of taking 14 people, should take some other smaller number, and so on and so forth. So if you all observe those, if the transporters observe what they're supposed to observe, and the school people observe, then it is doable. So that's why the campaign should be not only with the schools, but also with the transporters. Why do you allow those transporters to, if I take my child to the transport and I see they are not doing it properly, I will go back. I say, no, I'm not traveling with you because you are not following what the government said. These people want money. If you boycott them, if you see them doing what they are not supposed to do, and you say, no, we're not going to give our children to you, they will behave. They will behave, the transporters. So you should become inspectors, all of you, all of us, not only the teachers, but the whole population. And I'm glad I'm talking to the whole population. Please be inspectors of COVID compliance. If you see a transporter not doing what he's supposed to do, don't use him, boycott him. There are so many transporters who are looking for people. It's not a problem at all. But don't say that we remain paralyzed because some people are not implementing COVID. No, they must implement. And actually, if you expose them, you can even confiscate that vehicle if you have got enough proof that somebody is not following the COVID regulations. So therefore, the whole chain, in the homes, there was not much spread of the infection in the villages. There was not much. Do you have some figures, Wayangera, for the villages? Villages, not the Kajumbara, who has got some figures for the villages? And urban centers. Yes. You can get information and put it on the radios. Because in the villages, they were very serious. When a new person would come, they would report him. That's how we knew people were coming from Tanzania, from where, because for them they were listening to our message. The problem is only in the urban areas where people don't listen. So therefore, the schools can open safely, and the children can study safely if we are all vigilant. The walking to, even the ones coming from home, walking from, even you teachers, when you are coming from where you are staying, don't agree to sit in a vehicle which is crowded. And if they give you problems, think of how you can improvise. Because these are just candidate classes, it's not the whole school. And you are going to teach for part of October, part of November, then they go for exams, I think. The exams will be when? For these finalists? Yes. They will study and then they will be examined? In March. Okay. So, what I would do, like for instance, me, I have been here in quarantine now for 7 months. Here, I don't leave from here. I have been here, quarantined. Here, Nakasero, I don't go. All these soldiers here are under quarantine. They don't go home. They have their families, I don't know where they are. So, okay, stay here. Don't go away. So, if for some reason the teachers, who are not so many in the school, are staying, because these schools these days are not so far away. In many schools, people where children walk, they can walk from their homes. Now, if the teachers are also staying away, can't you look for how can you camp near the school? Because some of the school buildings are not being used now. Why can't the teachers, if you fear to go and come back, why can't you use those empty classrooms and you sleep in the school and you teach? This is a war. We are in the war. We are in a war where 1 million people in the world have died. Have you heard, you people? Mwahurra. When I speak in Nyankole, it will be stronger. Because when you speak in English, it is vague. Because when Nyankole say, Wahurra, have you? You really know that he has told you. So this is a war. We are not here for luxury. We are not in a war. It is a war of survival. 1 million people have died in the world. And those 1 million people have died mainly in the areas which are supposed to be developed countries. They're the ones who have died most because they were not taking seriously this issue of the Bible. I heard you had somebody who prayed for you, the professor. He must be a Christian. But you remember in the Bible, the leper, omugenge, the lepers who were passing, those lepers in those days, you can imagine 2,000 years ago, people had learned how to survive from sicknesses. The bagenge, the lepers, would go with bells with every day, so that when people hear them, they run away. This is in the Bible, 2,000 years ago. Now you are talking of 2020, and you cannot understand social distancing. And in the Bible, it says that when they passed, they shouted at him from a distance. They couldn't get near because they were not allowed. They were not allowed by the laws to get near the people who are not lepers. So they shouted at Jesus from a distance, say, "Master, you help us." Then he told them, he said, "Oh, you are healed. Now you go and report to the priests that you are healed." Social distancing, 2,000 years ago. How can we waste time now talking about this? This is total lack of seriousness. So, if there is social distancing in the homes, most of the homes, there is not much problem. In the rural areas, the problem is mainly in the towns, and maybe in the public transport coming to where they are coming. So, if the public transport they observe, and then you get the school and you observe, there would be, it is doable. But also we shall continue with this long distance education. The minister did not point out the 320 billion shillings which we are spending on the radios. Want every radio, every household, 9 million households, each one must get a free radio from the government. I insisted on this because we need that channel, that in the long distance education channel, if it becomes necessary. Not only now, but even for the future. Then people said, if you give the radios to the homesteads, the fathers will take them away from the children. Okay, that is their problem. At least for us, we have given them the radios for the children to use to get lessons through the radio. And this long distance education, I don't know why, because with the long distance education, either through the TV or through the radio, you are able to share a good teacher. If it is a good teacher who is teaching very well somewhere, he can now reach more people. Don't you see some point in that one? What is the problem exactly? Let one of you tell me what the problem is. Why can we not share one good teacher, all of us, through the radio? What is the problem? Tell me. Baguma, you are the knower.
Your Excellency, whereas the radio can facilitate learning, it does not facilitate learning to the deaf. And therefore, if this learner is not having someone to help, the learner will not benefit. So, the radio coverage does not reach every part of the country. And therefore, if you are using one radio, some learners in an area which does not receive.
But you can relay it. You can plan so that you relay the.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But also we have categories of runners. We have the quick runners, slow runners, and average. So when you are on radio and you are teaching, you may leave a group of runners who do not have the capacity to move at the pace of the teacher.
But you are forgetting, Baguma, that the house is burning. You see, we are dealing with a burning house. We are not just in a luxury, doing what we want. We are in a crisis. And we are saying, but how do we manage in this crisis? How do we manage? Because when the house burns, the important thing is to survive and to get things. But now I'm going to check with my Baganda. You know, I'm a Muganda of Ruwero. Now I want to check with my Baganda. In Uganda, what do we call okutasa ebintu okuva mu nyumba eriko omuliro? Do you have a special word? You see? Your other Baganda, the Baganda of Mbarara, they have a word for that. Okushahura. When you say okushahura, it is just only for the words okujja into mu nyumba which is on fire. So when you kushahura things and you put them outside, they may be soaked by the rain. They may be soaked by the rain. But it's better than being burnt. So Baguma is not going to tell us, my clothes have been soaked. Yes, they have been soaked, but it's better than if they had been burnt. That's what we are telling you. We are telling you that we are here in a crisis. We are not here in a luxury. So this long distance education, yes, some may miss, but it's better than dying, and it is better than nothing. This is what we are talking about. Now, the other issue which affects teachers are the salaries. The salaries of the teachers. I really want to continue improving the salaries of especially the teachers, the health workers, the security personnel, the soldiers and the policemen, and the scientists, the government scientists. I've been telling you this so many times. So what I want you to do is to help me talk to my other colleagues. You see, for me, I'm a very proud man. I'm a very proud man. Why? Because the force I lead, the National Resistance Army, the National Resistance Movement, when it came here, you know, no matter when they talk economics, big economics, people don't understand. So our simple economics is that when we came, all the Bagaga had run away. All the Bagaga, all the rich people had run away. Now, the rich people, especially the ones who own businesses, factories and so on, when they run away, because of insecurity, that meant, and yet the rich people are the ones who pay taxes. Because they are the ones who pay taxes. They are the ones with more money to pay taxes. Yes, you pay your small taxes, pay as you earn and all that, but it's not too much. I think UNATO can tell you how much pay as you earn brings in compared to other taxes. It should be part of your work to educate your teachers so that they know. So when NNM came and brought back peace, so in 1986, the tax collected was 5 billion shillings. In the whole of Uganda, we collected 5 billion shillings. Why? Because people to pay taxes were not there. Businesses to pay taxes. The soft drink factories were closed. The beer factories were closed. The soap factories were closed. All the factories were closed because these are the ones who pay. Because every bottle of beer which you drink, I like drunk. I don't drink alcohol, but I like drunkards. Every bottle of beer they drink, there is a tax there. But when the beer was being smuggled in from Primus from Congo, it wouldn't pay tax because it was coming through Panya. So, because the NRM brought peace, the Wagaga came back, Kokora came back, the Madvanis came back, factory, the new ones who are not here before the Chinese, Bonava Judewan. And because of that, the taxes have gone up. Now the tax collection now is from 5 billion 1986 to now 21,000 billion. Obumbi emitwalo ebiri mu 10 okuva ku buwumbi 5 buli mwaka. So the problem now is no longer the money, but the engabula. Engabula. Ate okugabula okwo ndina bantu bange wano benkwatagala nabo mu kugabula. Kino kankyongere mu lwaffe saagala njagala mugambe abantu bange nti muwulirize engabula ya Museveni bw'ayagala okugabula. Temuteekamu ebyammwe. Kubanga nze okugabula okwange nsokera ku magye. Amagye galina okubeera g'amaanyi. Tetwagala obutali butebenkevu wano. Awo nenzawo enguudo n'eggaali y'omukka. Enguudo zange muziraba. Eyo yonna gye muvuddeeyo nguudo korasi zituuseyo. Namba 3 amasanyalaze. Eyokuna ebyobuyigirize, infrastructure, classrooms, enyumba z'abasomesa ze mugambe ezo okusola wala n'amasomero. Kyandibadde kirungi abasomesa basole okumpi. Ekyokuna ebyobulamu. Ekyokutaano emisaala y'abakozi bali byenjogeddeko. Yensonga yange eyokutaano. Naye okugabula mama lwabushaija. Therefore, the issue now is no longer emmere. It is engabula. It is no longer just the food. It's okay, it's not enough to cover everything, but we could do much better if we really kugabula. And that's why there is talk of a unified salaries board. Eyaliwo edda byemwogera sikiwuliramu, unayogera nnyo naye ekyo sikiwuliramu. Yes, a unified salaries board. Bino bya parliament okugerekera omusaala, abalamuzi nibegerekera emisaala, simanya aba KCCA nibegerekera emisaala, ekyo kikome. Ngati njagala kuwulira abasomesa bali bameka ba gavumenti. Manyi nti aba primary bali 18,000, abaana bali bameka ba secondary. How many are you? Huh? All, not private, the private our government. Government and the secondary and primary.
For secondary, Your Excellency, there are 40,000
Mm.
and 91,000.
No, our primary.
No, for secondary, Your Excellency.
Mm.
Then for primary,
Mm.
number of teachers, government, they are 138,566.
Mm. Oh, okay, so about 140,000. I want to hear all the government teachers, 140,000 primary, 40,000 secondary, all saying that a unified salaries board. Because your sentenzo zamwe zaffe ffenna tulina okuzigabula mu ngeri ezimba eggwanga. So that is the issue on the salaries. For me, I'm happy that the economy has recovered and the tax collection has gone up. But there is a problem with the budgeting. Engabula. Ate twetaaga eddoboozi ku ngabula. No, bino ebyammwe ebyolwaleero okusimba emiti, mwebale nnyo okusimba emiti. Thank you very much. The Lancet, those Lancet people, they don't know how to, the ones who said Uganda was number 10 in the whole world and first in Africa in fighting corona, they don't know how to mark. Uganda is number 1 in the whole world. Because they are comparing Uganda with South Korea. You can imagine. South Korea is surrounded by water. It is a peninsula surrounded by water on 3 sides. In the north, there is North Korea. You know the other Korea. Not even a rat goes through. So how can you compare South Korea with Uganda? Uganda, we have got land borders, very difficult to monitor. Sudan, South Sudan this way, Kenya that way, Tanzania this way, Rwanda this way, Congo this way. And you compare us with that isolated place, you tell those Lancets they should learn how to do things better. As far as I'm concerned, Uganda must be either number 1 or number 2 in the whole world, because we are dealing with a very, very difficult situation where we don't have any natural obstacle like water. There is this New Zealand, where there's a young lady there who is managing New Zealand, the Prime Minister. New Zealand is an island. It's very easy to isolate. But here, So I thank them, but they should improve. Those are answered. Now, Baguma is asking, who will sensitize the teachers? You are educated people. This one, the message of fighting corona is a simple one. Those scientists can give you, UNATU, and also Minister of Education, a handout. A handout, things to do. The do's and the don'ts. And you give them to your members. Because these are all educated people. If you tell him this, tell him that, they will do it. So you should do the sensitization yourself, working with the science group and also with the ministry headquarters. With your organization, not. You don't need anybody to train you to be a doctor. No, this is not. This is just simple public health prevention. Now, Omona, Dr. Omona, what do you call being ashamed in Luo? Huh? They call it what? Nomulewi. Yes. I now feel Nomulewi now. Because these Unatu people, Baguma is okumbanja emotoka bbiri bannange. Motoka Ario. Yeah. This must be delivered by Monday next week. Must be delivered to. If I sell my bulls, I can't fail to. If the government has no money, I will sell my bulls, and I don't want these teachers to bring me bad luck. So I was supposed to nemotoka bili. Now the circles, I think that one was answered by the PS. The circle for the government teachers and the circle for the private teachers. Now, for the schools, apart from sensitization, we had a system in the olden days of health masters. Each school would have a health master, a teacher who was in charge of the health of the students. Do you still have that system? Huh? Yes. Each school should nominate a health master. Like, for instance, 1963, I myself, I had an attack of smallpox. You can imagine, in 1963, I was in S3, and I had never had immunization of smallpox. So I got an attack of smallpox. We had gone to play cricket, and then I felt very, very weak. And I came to the dormitory. Other children went for supper. I didn't go for supper. They brought me some warm milk. I drank it. I vomited. But there was a health master in the school entirely. Mr. Rema. Mr. Rema was a teacher of chemistry. And he had a thermometer. He had a thermometer, he had a few things like that, which I used to organize. So when he came, he put some thermometer. Those days they were putting it in the mouth. Not these days where you... And my temperature was 104 degrees Fahrenheit. They say by that time people are dead. And actually dying is not such a bad thing, because I was feeling dying slowly. I was not feeling pain. Banyankole call it okongobera. You find you're going. You are very weak, but not. You don't have pain. It's not very painful. Actually, it's like sweet side. So Rema said, this is. So he rushed me to hospital. When they didn't do anything, because they didn't even know that it was. They thought it was. I don't know whether they tried to treat malaria or what. It was on Sunday when some of the blisters started coming, that they knew that it was smallpox. But by that time, the temperature, I had already overcome the disease. So you should have health masters in all these schools. The cadres. You are the head of what? Huh? Standards. They are all under you. So you give a directive that each school must have a health master who can get a rudimentary exposure about temperature, because they could even do. We had even students who would be health prefects. Yes. This man who died, Dr. Maringa, do you remember Dr. Stephen Maringa? Yes. He was in S5 when I was in S3, and he was the health prefect. And you could go there and he would give you tablets, he could give you this, he could give you... He had a small, huh? You call it what? First aid. First aid box. First aid box. He had something there. So why can't you have this system in the schools? So with these few words, they are not so few after all. It is now my honor to congratulate all the teachers in Uganda and in the world, and to please help me with the Kugabula. Because if we do that, the public service will be stronger. Will be stronger if we Kugabula in a deliberate way, not just people just doing their own things. We can have a stable public service so that people don't have to worry about this, worry about that. There is also one little help I need from the teachers. When I introduced UPE, I wanted abana bonna basomere bwerere ababanaku. The children of the Wagaga could go to Wodos and those places and pay high fees, but the Wanaku ones, like do you have somebody from Lango here? Somebody from Lango? Huh? Oh, Charo Kwene, Dokolo. My home is Balegi, and my small village there called Okwang. Now, in Okwang Secondary School, which is my school, I don't want school charges there. I want children to study free. Why can't you not support me in this? What is the problem? Huh? I want you next time to tell me why you don't support my... Because for me, I want my... And actually, when I calculated the capitation grant of 47,000 shillings per student, I don't know what it is now, but that time, I calculated it using Okwang SS, which was near my camp, near Barilegi. And with 47,000, we found that the things you want from the teacher, from the student, could be covered with the 47,000. What is the capitation grant now? No, but for secondary schools.
For secondary is 58,000.
So it has gone up. For me, I remember very well, I calculated that with 47,000, we could provide free education without disturbing the children in the schools like Okwang. So next time we meet, I want you to tell me why you don't support the children studying free for those poor schools, Okwang, what. Then for the Ntares and so on, where the children of the rich are going, those can pay. You don't have to answer now. You go and think about it. Very good. Because if the children of the poor were studying free, these children, or these ghetto children, like the ones in Kampala here, they would all be absorbed, they would be in the school system. But when you bring charges, I don't know why. You should tell me why. You are the ones who say, abana basasule. Nze ngamba nti basomera obwerere, mumugamba nti babajje kwebisale. Thank you so much. Apoyo Rubanga coin.
And His Excellency the President, we are going to stand up and have the anthems. Your Excellency, your visitors would wish to have a photo with you, a historic picture.
Okay, let's go in front of of the building there.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. See how this is.